So today we're going to talk about, and I think I'm going to talk about this in a series of videos, the generation gap. There's always been a generation gap, right? Between my mom and her mom, them, and then us and our parents, and now it's the kids and us. And the difference between us and our parents is that the kids today have the internet and their ability to communicate is way faster than we could ever have imagined. Hi, my name is Annie, and this is Grand Alienation. We provide resources for alienated grandparents, and my whole goal is to help this thing come to an end. And I think with understanding, compassion, and communication, we can make that happen. Because I said before that, on Reddit, and I've seen in videos and stuff that the kids are saying this was our last straw, that the parents are just not listening and they just couldn't take it anymore. So they just said, we're done. So I go to Reddit and I look online, and I go to TikTok, and I, like, as hard as it is, I try to read and understand what the kids are saying. And so we're going to talk about that, the communication gap, because what they're saying and what we're hearing is two different things. And the kids are way on this side and we are way on this side. And my goal is to, like, everybody just, like, come to an understanding, come to the table, and let's start working things out. You got to work through your problems. You cannot run away from them because they don't go away. If you wish that your parents were, whatever, if you wish your parents were in this box, your wishing is not going to get them to be that person. So we got to work on it. Parents got to work on us. Kids got to work on them. And again, before you come at me in my comments, if you're abused, we're not talking about you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had abuse. On some level, we all have abuse of some sort. Nobody has a completely rosy childhood, because if you do, then, that's like you have your own set of problems. If nothing, like if you had never had any strife in your life, that's a whole host of other problems. Okay, so I wanted to take a look at some of the things. Like one of the things that somebody was saying is the parents are emotionally unavailable. Okay, so what does that mean? So if you're not telling your parents that you're just emotionally unavailable to me, what does that mean? It's not something you say to your parent. It's something you say about your parent. Oh, how come you're not talking to them? Oh, because they don't listen and they're just emotionally unavailable. What does that mean? That means they're like, we're living in a vacuum without emotions? Let me tell you something about Generation X. Okay, first of all, not a boomer. All my peers are not boomers. You guys call us boomers. My 85-year-old mother's a boomer. She was born during the baby boom, meaning she was born like post World War II, like in the 40s. I was born in the late 60s and 70s. We are not boomers. We are Generation X, and we operate differently from our parents. We're very independent. We're very, just take the bull by the horns kind of people. And, like I said before, you just figure your shit out. That's who we are. And emotions is not our we don't lead with emotions. We lead with, like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's move forward. Let's end this already. That's who we are. And we come off as like very aggressive. Maybe we come off as pushy because that's how we're built. So if you understand that, adult children, if you understand that, then you can have maybe a little bit more compassion, like, oh, that's how my mom is. Maybe, I can help her get in touch with emotions, if that's something that we want. But at this point in the game, I want to understand about my emotions because it's not something that's in my wheelhouse. So I gotta, get in touch with my female side. Go figure. Anyways, so they want the parents to be emotionally available in inverse proportion to what they need. Okay, so tell me what that means. What that means is They want the parents to be like just emotionally like open and like way more in excess of what it is that they expect. They want us to be, like super sensitive and very kind. And, like if you want us to be something that we're not going to be something we're not, but my behavior can change, and I'm not going to be a different person to an extent. So that was one of the things that I had read, was that they want us to be like way more emotionally available. Now, if you cannot explain to me what emotional availability means, like in a sentence, describe to me what that means. If you can leave that in the comments, I would appreciate it, because I don't know what emotional availability means. Availability means, okay, let me check my calendar and see if I got any availability. That's what that means to me. So if you want me to be like just open, or like open-minded, I don't know, just tell me what that means. And I suppose I could go and look into it and do some more deep diving to find out what emotional availability is. But if you're speaking to a Gen Xer, we do not know what that means. So you have to explain it. So that's my point in saying that we have to both come to the table. We got to both come halfway so that we can have a conversation about, hey, mom, I would really like for you to be more in touch with your emotions. Okay, babe, what does that mean? Do you want me to be kinder? Do you want me to be more like, let's watch a movie together and cry? What does that mean? So tell me what that means. And I will tell you what I would expect is like, hey, babe, maybe you cannot be as emotionally raw. You're just like a raw nerve, just exposed and like crying for no reason, or just like too sensitive. That's a thing that I think that a lot of the Gen Xers is like, man, they're just too sensitive. They're just like, everything, they get hurt by everything. So if we can come to an understanding and, maybe just be a little bit more kind in saying, okay, well, today's not going to be a good day for my daughter. So maybe I'll just kind of like lay low and, I'll text you, hey, call me if you need me, or do you need me? You're having a bad day. Should we just, should we watch a Hallmark movie and cry together? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to go wash your hair? I'll go braid your hair. My daughter loves when I braid her hair because she's got very thick, very long hair. And it's hard, if you're trying to French braid your hair, it's hard to do it on your own, especially when you got a lot of hair. So, it's like, oh, okay, babe, why don't you go take a nice shower? I'll watch, my grandson, you go take a shower and just kind of relax and use like some essential oils and stuff, and then come downstairs and I'll braid your hair, and then we can talk about whatever. Is that what you mean by emotionally available? Because I can do that. You just let me know what it is. Okay, so that's really the whole point of my whole video today, is to help maybe get some baby steps so that we can both come to the table and say, hey, let's figure this thing out, because I miss you, daughter, and daughter misses mom. So we both are in agreement with that. But what we are not in agreement with is our method of communication, our behavior styles, like my parenting style, your parenting style. Because here's another thing that you got to understand, young ones, is that our generation is the first generation that had one foot in the old world and one foot in the new world. Okay. We did not have access to what you have access to now, but we do have access to it today. So when you explain to us, like, hey, mom, I'm a first time mom and I really want to try to figure stuff out by myself. I'm on a journey of self-discovery as a mom. I would really appreciate it if you could, just stop asking stuff and stop telling me what to do. And I'd be like, okay, babe, because you know what? We didn't have the internet when you were born. So I had to go ask your grandma and aunties and whatever, how do you do this and how do you do that? So just have some compassion. Both sides have some compassion and understanding that we come from two different worlds and we have two different perspectives. So if you can understand and like study what the other side is like in business, you got to study a competition. What I'm saying is go take a look at like how your parents behave. And we'll go take a look at how the kids behave. And when we can understand and come together, we can resolve this thing. And again, I'm going to say this again and again and again. This is not abusive relationships. Okay. If somebody is actually being toxic, being, just abusive in their language or physically abusive, we're not talking about that. We're talking about unresolved conflict. When you have unresolved conflict and you decide to take the no contact highway, there is a way that you can fix it. And sometimes, like when you're having a break, I'm having a break from my kid right now, and I'm just trying to figure my stuff out. So when we can come to an understanding, then we can start mending fences and start being a family again. So that's what I had to share for today. My name is Andy. This is Grand Alienation. Hey, would you please subscribe? I really would love for you to subscribe. And I forgot to ask you about that earlier. And I'm working on a tool for my grandparents to help you be the person that your kids want you to be. I'm very excited about that. When I have it ready for you, I will let you know. That's all I have for today. I'll see you guys later.